For the Eagles this weekend, good news, they face the Giants at the Meadowlands. So it's going to be a piece of cake. It's about as good as it's going to get when it comes to opponents. The Eagles are 11-2. The New York Football Giants are 2-11. So, Cece, let's break this one down a little bit. What do you expect from Nick Foles against the Giants? You've seen Nick Foles play. You got more confidence in him than other people do.
Yeah, and the transition when you take over as a starter is a lot easier when you get some reps when the quarterback get injured during the game. It's different when you take over just to start. The guy gets hurt. After the game, you don't know, you don't play. But he actually played in like a playoff, a highly contested game that had tremendous stakes and had positive results. So seeing him spread the ball around, not just eyeballing the number one receiver. You saw him throwing a couple different tight ends, threw to the running back, spread the ball around to the wide receivers. This offense, he's very comfortable in. I believe he will be successful in this offense. The most success that he's had in the NFL has been in an offense like this. Chip Kelly, when the head coach of Philadelphia, when he took over, he kept some of Chip Kelly's stuff. So for me, I have more confidence because I've seen him operate in this offense. Doug Peterson's done a good job as far as adding other things that him and Carson Wentz can do. The skill sets of these players from a throwing standpoint aren't that different. Now, Carson Wentz is a special athlete. His ability to run, be in the pocket. He's a bigger, stronger guy than Nick Foles. So those are some of the things you don't want to have too many quarterback read options. But I believe that Philadelphia will run the table under Nick Foles. They will have the number one seed. They will go into the playoffs with a lot of confidence. But a lot of that started last week and will carry over this week when they're gift wrapped the New York Football Giants.
So Philadelphia running the table and getting the one seed. I like that bold prediction here. Now they do have they have Giants this week. I think it's Oakland next week, and then Dallas in the final week of the year, which could be if Dallas wins their next two, a game where Dallas fighting for the playoffs. Here's my concern in this game. Now, it is not a concern about will Philly win. I think the Giants are the best team in football to be playing right now. I'd rather play the Giants than the Browns. The Browns desperately just don't want to be a winless team. The Giants, they're playing young guys. They've already fired their coach. Quarterback's been yo-yoed. Like, Giants are the best matchup. So
this is not a conversation about winning or losing. This is a conversation about pitchers.
Exactly right. And you said something very interesting, Chris, which was when you played, you didn't want your teammates to put you in a position where you had to lie for them. Like, right?
Especially the quarterback, because I play with a lot of different quarterbacks.
And so before I get to my point, can you reiterate what that means, what you were talking about when you told your guys, don't make me lie for you?
Right, and when you have a guy take over, which we had in '98 season, we were 15-1. Brad Johnson was hurt early. Randall Cunningham took over. I was like, man, Randall's been looking great in practice. Him and Randy Moss have a strong connection together, especially on the deep ball. I told him, get in the game. Hey, man, I done told all these lies out there about you, man. I need you to make this stuff a reality. Because that's the way teams function. You don't want to be speaking about your teammate from a negative standpoint or making up things that people make you look bad. So, man, support your teammates. So when you get to the press conference, you have positive things to say. And that's up to him to be the professional. This is a great offense. He's got enough weapons around him. He's got 3 running backs. So there's not a lot of pressure on him. Drive the car. Just don't wreck the car.
And so my concern for the Eagles, big picture, about Nick Foles, aside from the fact that he doesn't have as much arm talent, he's not as developed. I shouldn't say he's not as developed. He's just not as good of a quarterback.
Right. His arm is just as strong as Carson Wentz, but his ability to vary the throws is probably the biggest difference.
Sure, it's different points, the different things that you can do. My concern is the Eagles, our guy Dustin does a great job of all the teams that matter, their ranks in every major category. The Eagles offensively are in the top 10 in essentially every category you can find, except for sacks allowed. They're middle of the pack in sacks allowed. And that's with a quarterback that avoids a lot of them.
Yes.
That's if you had a more statuesque quarterback back there, instead of allowing the 14th most sacks in football, they'd probably, or the 18th most sacks, pardon me, they'd probably be closer to, allowing the 10th most or the 9th most.
And
when
also,
you,
you would say early this season, that was the most surprising thing about Carson Wentz that you saw.
It's what opened my eyes to think that he was a lot better than I came into the year believing, is seeing Carson Wentz on a play that is supposed to, it's 3rd and 8, it's going to turn into 4th and 15 and a punt, and he turned it into 1st and 10 with a 20-yard gain. Like, that's what differentiated him early on this season, was turning negative plays into huge positive plays. It's why he's the league's highest rated passer on 3rd down. It's why the Eagles have gotten away with being top 5 in the league on most 3rd and longs faced, because they got out of them. 3rd and long's the worst place to be in. The Eagles were thriving under it. That, I don't think, even if he's the best backup quarterback in the league, that I don't think a backup quarterback can come do.
I'm going to say something that may sound ridiculous to you. You may get what I'm saying, because you spent some time in Philadelphia, and you know these fans. These fans are passionate. These fans live, eat, and breathe their sports teams. When these fans get behind you, it is a different feeling than when they don't. Right? When Philadelphia fans like you and believe in you, it may sound ridiculous if you're not from Philadelphia, but you go out there, the headlines in the paper, all over the news. If they like you and they feel for you, there's something that you carry onto that field that's a little different than, believe me. Remember, these fans have a reputation for booing Santa Claus. They don't like you. You're getting batteries thrown at you. You understand what's happening out there.
Yes, absolutely.
And I haven't heard that much negativity towards Nick Foles when he's come in. I think they want him to do well. And it may be one of those variables that absolutely mean nothing, or maybe just mean a tiny bit, but it's something that Nick Foles, I think, will take with him, knowing that the city's behind him, which means a lot in Philadelphia, maybe not in other places. So maybe something to look at.
That's what Nick was talking about before. It's not important what the score is of the Giants game, but it's important how well he plays. And does he have negative plays? Because, Jenna, I played for them Eagles, and you're right. They did boo Santa Claus, but also I was on the Eagles, and they booed me before.
Right.
So it is, man, it's hard with the Philly fans, but you haven't seen the type of enthusiasm. When was the last time they had to potentially get the #1 seed? So, yes, you're right, man.
And they're not even going to be at home, and you'll still see fans make the trip to New York.
Being the #1 seed, playing against a Giants team that's awful. Like, Philadelphia will have more fans at the game, potentially, in Giant State this weekend than the Giants. Next weekend. So I believe it's a momentum thing, Jenna. Like, he's going to have to build. Yes, they're on bandwagon, but he got to keep them on there.
And because Philly right now is the 1 seed, and because their expectations are to get to the Super Bowl right now. And this is where how it looks matters as far as the team's confidence, not just the fans moving forward. In the last 20 years in the NFL, there have been 11 instances of a quarterback starting 3 or fewer games and then starting a playoff game. It's because a guy gets hurt almost always. Those quarterbacks are 0-11 in their playoff games. The last quarterback to start 3 or fewer games and win a playoff game, do you remember, CC? Because you were on the team.
87?
97 Vikings.
Okay.
Randall came in, not the 98 Vikings went 15-1.
Okay, yes.
Randall came in at the end of the year.
Oh, yes.
Brad Johnson got hurt. And that playoff game that they won, by the way, I looked it up this morning. We were talking about it. You guys were down 2 scores with 4 minutes left.
Yep.
You guys ended up a couple onside kicks. And
right through the tunnel, Giant Stadium. It was a great memory.
Right. So I'll take it back further. Since Frank Wright did what he did in 1992, Randall Cunningham is the only backup quarterback with 3 or fewer starts to win a single playoff game. Did it once. So NFL history says no matter how good your backup is, we saw it twice last year with bad backups, and Matt Moore and Connor Cook, that you're in a rough spot. So the Eagles, whether their players know that stat or not, we know the tendency of a team being awesome, losing their quarterback, it usually ends their season even if they don't know it yet.
Oh, that is true. So you know what Doug Peterson did? When he was putting together this staff, he said, you know something? Our quarterback's going to get hurt. People are going to doubt us. He's not going to have a bunch of starts. You know who I'm going to make the quarterback an offensive coordinator? Oh, Frank Wright. Frank Wright. Frank Wright's the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well,
so the next time it happens, it will be Nick Foles.
Exactly.
Yes. I'm so glad you brought that name up.
Beautiful.
Nice. Frank Wright.
There we go.
Offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Coming up.
Great.